Botswana. Small time little league player Pop Warner. Rock corners with hot blocks that's drug infested. Supply suppliers, my money say thug invested. No disrespect to Duck Down Records. After this go round, a nigga looking for the exit. Peace. Sincerely Pyrex Pot Sean. Cookie cut it and spit it on alright.com. The vet earner of stripes, the sket burner. Tears in my eyes when thinking the Hex murder. What up, Hex? I don't parlay with the crew, nigga. I don't wale the new niggas. Hardcore rap and Mary J. Blige records. That's right. The guard gon' snap and waving the 5 reckless. Sean Price, the best rapper in Brownsville. Don't know me, by the time this song done, you clowns will. Heard something, nigga. Know what I mean? Fuck out of here. Grown man rap, nigga. I gave my son to fuck one of y'all young rappers up. Word to mother. Fuck out of here. What up, Eli? Where was I? Oh, yes. Sean Carter is nice, but Sean Price is the best. Sean gone. No Sean Dawn. Sean is a dawn. I don't wear Sean John. Army suit, Blackberry brandy is long johns. Matching cheese Tims, you separate weed stems. Weed carrier, bulletproof vest tester. Block display your jester, left from Rockaway in Chester. Too old.
Welcome back. Week 3 recap of the Grand Larceny Fantasy Football League. For anybody that wanted to know, that was my man Sean P. Rest in peace. Anybody that never listened to him or wasn't vibing with him, fuck you. Go kill yourself. You know what I'm saying? One of the best to ever do it right there. Now, we're not gonna let this one linger like I normally do. Like I start attacking people left and right and all this and all that. No, we ain't even gonna get into that. Get right down to the point, and then I have a observation / question. Not necessarily to ask you, but just to put out there to see what you guys' thoughts are on it, if it gets you guys thinking differently for next year's draft. With that being said, once again, welcome back. Let's get right into it. First up to bat, we had myself, Pork Chop Express, versus the OGs and the Rooks. This was good old-fashioned ass whooping. Kenny had to think twice about even watching football this weekend. He already knew what was taking place. I took that W 101.2 to 69.5. I believe this was the second highest point difference this week. My team was led by Derrick Henry, who finally showed up this week, giving me 25 points. Then Derek Carr, 23. And Jalen Waddle at 15. I think this was actually Jalen Waddle's lowest scoring week. For my man Kenny over there. Excuse me while I just move this back. Kenny had, Kirk Cousins do Kirk Cousins things, 22 points. Then the rest of his team really just sucked. Josh Jacobs gave him 14.7. And literally everybody else on his team scored under 10. It was 22, 14, and then his next highest scorer was Joe Mixon at 6.8. That's look. You had the lowest score this week, bro. Lowest score this week. You got the fucking you got the Ed Crespo Award this week, my man. Ed Crespo Award. And your bench didn't do any better. Just to let you know. My bench actually scored 60 points, and one of those guys gave me a 0 because he didn't even play. So I actually almost outscored your whole team with just my starters. But I digress. Moving on. Next up, we had Girl Dad against Bronx Los the Ghost. Los the Ghost takes the L right here. This actually moves Girl Dad to 3-0, first in the Warriors division. Dropping Los to 1 2/3 in the Warriors division. Jay had pretty balanced scoring throughout, and that's what helped him get the W. again, nobody jumped off the page, so that's why he stayed at 118. But he literally had five guys give him above. Excuse me. Five guys give him 14 and up. So I mean that's a good output for your team. You know what I'm saying? On the other end, Josh Allen gave him 30. And then the next up was T. Higgins at 14. T. Higgins actually had a pretty good game, but he needed more output from his guys. Look, right now, which comes into the question I was gonna pose and put out there for you guys. Najee Harris gives him 13. AJ Dillon gives him 5. You know what I'm saying? Javonte Williams gives him 9. Again, when you got guys giving you point totals like that, it's not gonna help at all. Next up, more Asian hate Grimes against Smoke and D. Dion gets that W with the biggest point difference this week. Dion 151, Dougie 104. Dion's sitting now second in the Warriors division, and Dougie with the worst record in the league at 0-3. Dougie's best output was James Robinson and DK Metcalf. James Robinson has been a pleasant surprise for Doug as he actually drafted him as the backup to Travis Etienne. Kyler Murray though underperforming. Jonathan Taylor again, second week in a row underperforming. Rashad Bateman didn't do well. DK overperformed, getting 17, but I don't know how much of that you can expect with Geno Smith at a center. And he got 10 points from the Browns defense. He left Chris Olave on his bench, gave him 23 points. Look, Dougie's one of the few people in the league that, given the way his team has been performing, he doesn't feel obligated to start anybody really other than James Robinson, Kyler Murray, and Jonathan Taylor. Literally, the rest of his team, he could just plug and play. Jonathan Taylor, because that's your number one pick. James Robinson, because he's been your best performer. And Kyler Murray, because he's your quarterback. And you'd better start him over Jameis Winston. Then with that, look, I think right now, the way it all looks, Dion got the steal of the draft and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been performing like he's a fucking top 3 quarterback. Dion has had the... It's weird to say, right? But Dion's team is performing at a high level right now, and I don't know if that's sustained through the season, right? He got 33 from Jalen Hurts. That can sustain, because I think Philly right now is looking like, they're the front runner for the East, right? But they're looking like right now, dude, top 3 team in the NFC, period. Breece Hall performed well, giving him 15. Devin Singletary overperformed, giving him 24. Justin Jefferson underperformed, giving him 4. But then he got 19 from Christian Kirk, the number 1 receiver on that Jacksonville team. Travis Kelce gives him 17, which is on average with Travis Kelce, who has been easily the most consistent tight end, and that's why he's the best tight end in the league. Deontay Johnson gave him 16, right? Trubisky's got to throw to somebody at some point. Panthers defense overperformed like crazy, giving him 15 points. Then Dion's bench performed the way you'd expect your bench to perform. Trevor Lawrence gave him 31, but everybody else was, his bench would have beat Kenny starters, but, I digress again. Like I said, Dion is coming out the gates smoking. Can that team sustain that? I don't know. Time will tell. Moving on. Juice Bigelow gets the W, moving him to 1-2, third in the Gramercy Riffs division. Beating Sir Winalot, also 1-2, who is now dead last in the Gramercy Riffs division. And as I said in the chat, Lamar, you're absolutely right. You scoring 110 and losing just means so much more and is so much better than me scoring 101 and winning. You fucking fool. A win is a win. Doesn't matter. A loss only means something when you're scoring like 135 and above, where it's like, yo, my team performed. I just went, I went against the guy that just fucking came out the gates, fucking blowing it up. Other than that, like, dude, I don't want to hear that shit. Like, oh, well, your team's not scoring. Yeah, whatever, my team's winning, all right? Now, moving on. Matthew Stafford for Juice Bigelow underperformed. I'm glad I overlooked him in the draft. Stafford has not been performing well, but the thing with that is that Rams team is still good, and at some point he's gonna wake up and start slinging the ball. The only thing you kind of wonder is, did OBJ mean that much more? Because remember, he was playing like this up until OBJ got there, and then it was like, it was fucking off to the races. So you kind of wonder now, did OBJ really mean that much to that team? Nick Chubb has been playing very well, giving him 17 points. Devontae Smith had a monster game, 30 points. But, like, the points don't even say it. If you watch those highlights, like, that dude was playing like a man possessed. Mark Andrews, phenomenal game, 28 points. Cortland Sutton, great game, 17 points. Look, Jeff's team came to fucking play. He left Jamal Williams on the bench, who gave him 24. And that's more to even look at because DeAndre Swift may be out a week or two. Now, moving on to L. Jared Goff gave him what Jared Goff does. Not like last week. He gives him 15 this week. Cam Akers, 10 points. Jeff Wilson Jr., 11 points. Jamar Chase, underperforming, 12 points. CeeDee Lamb actually stepped up this week, 22 points. Kittle in his first game back, 6 points. Terry McLaurin, who... I guess he hasn't been underperforming, but you expect more from him. He gave him 16 points. Second week in a row, Lamar left Amari Cooper on his bench. And once again, Amari Cooper comes up with a very good game, 23 points. Left Melvin Gordon on the bench, gives him 16 points. Not mad at that. Like, I'm not... Can't really complain about that. You don't know... You never know what you're going to get from Melvin Gordon. So, yeah, right now, I'm going to say Jeff Wilson and Cam Akers are probably more reliable than Melvin Gordon. But at some point in time, you're going to have to start just believing in Amari Cooper. Next up, Middle Village Red Storm taking the loss to Reds Crayons, or L's favorite. This brings Middle Village Red Storm to 0-3, last place in the Turnbull AC's division. Bringing Pete to 2-1, second in the Turnbull AC's division. Aaron Rodgers gives John 20 points. Look, Aaron Rodgers started off on fire. I thought it was going to be like a fucking 4 or 5 touchdown game from Aaron Rodgers. He kind of had that first half and then died out in the second half. DeAndre Swift got hurt, gave him 6-7 points. Damian Pierce came up, 18 points. A.J. Brown, 19 points. Mike Williams underperformed. That whole Chargers team looked like shit. Pat Freiermuth gives him 6 points. Yeah, dude, when your guys are giving you point totals like that, while you didn't score terribly at 108, you know, it always makes for an interesting matchup. Then on Pete's side, Patrick Mahomes actually underperformed, giving him 19 points. Didn't have a good game. I don't know whether it was the play calling or what. I really didn't watch that game. Alvin Kamara gives him 7 points. Again, don't know what happened with Kamara that game. They were playing from behind. Jameis Winston looked like real shit. Saquon Barkley comes up big, 22 points. Michael Pittman gives him 15. Drake London gives him 14. Zach Ertz gives him 10. Zach Ertz looks like right now probably the best bang for Pete's buck since he's been playing well. And I think he drafted him late. Marquise Brown comes up big, 28 points. And you know that was pretty much it. He didn't really leave anything on his bench. Just a good showing from Pete's team. Next up, we got the Butt Clappers sitting at 3-0, first in the Turnbull Aces division, against Case 1393. Frank now takes that loss and goes to 1-2, third in the Turnbull Aces division. Joe Burrow for Robin comes up big, 29 points. Dalvin Cook actually looks like Dalvin Cook. 13 points. I actually thought he scored more than that, but 13 points. Miles Sanders didn't have a good game, 14 points. Amon St. Brown came back down to earth, 13 points. Tyler Conklin had a great game for the Jets, 16 points. And Cordero Patterson, 22 points. On the other end, Lamar Jackson, again, fucking that dude is looking on fire this year, 47 points. But then the rest of Frank's team, just bad. He had Austin Eckler, which was second, at 13 points. So you went from 47 to 13. And then the next best player on his team was his kicker at 9. Look, Frank also fucked up in that he started Julio Jones, even though Julio Jones was inactive well prior to the starting lineup. So I don't know whether Frank was in the middle of doing shit or what. He could have started Adam Thielen. He could have started Tyler Lockett. I mean, he didn't. I don't know what else to say. At this point, it's just managerial error. But yeah, the rest of his team did nothing. Now, that being said, that is your recap of the week. What I wanted to bring up to you guys, that I don't know if you guys have been paying attention too closely to this, right? So, I think we can all agree that so far this year, the first round picks, our first round picks this year, have been severely underperforming. Now, as anybody that's done fantasy for as long as we have, you guys know that running backs reign supreme generally in fantasy, right? Because they get the carries, they can catch passes out the backfield, they can score from multiple angles. But I wanted to read out you guys some numbers, right? So far, the leading running back in our league is Saquon Barkley at 67.8 points, fantasy points, up to this week. Next up, we've got Nick Chubb at 64.9 fantasy points. Those two guys were first round picks, if I'm not mistaken. Those two guys were first round picks. Next up, we've got James Robinson, who was maybe a fourth round pick, sitting at 56.3 points. Then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 53 points. He was a first round pick as well. Then we got DeAndre Swift at 50 points. He was a first round pick as well. Then, that's the top 5, right? So you have 4 first round picks, 1 maybe 4th or 5th round pick, and James Robinson. Now, to even out the top 10, we got Cordero Patterson next at 49 points. Who Cordero Patterson was maybe again a 4th or 5th round pick, if not worse. Aaron Jones, 2nd or 3rd round pick, sitting at 7 with 48 points. Jamal Williams, who is a backup. He's an RB2 realistically, but he is 8th in scoring so far this year, 47.7 points. And Jamal Williams, I think, was picked up off the waiver wire, if I'm not mistaken. Then Khalil Herbert, who wasn't even on the team. I picked him up off the waiver wire and dropped him immediately. He was just picked up again off the waiver wire. He's sitting at 47 points. And then the number 1 pick in the draft at number 10, Jonathan Taylor, sitting at 46.9 points. So that's 5 of your top 10 backs were number 1, were first round picks, right? 5 first round picks in that top 10 of backs. Not top 10 scoring, top 10 backs. And like I said, generally you draft running backs first, correct? Now I'm going to tell you the top 10 wide receivers this year in scoring. Number 1, we got Stephon Diggs at 85 points. Diggs was a first round pick. Next up, we got Cooper Kupp at 80 points. First round pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 73 points. He was 7th or 8th round pick, maybe? Jalen Waddle, 4th, 72.9 points. I think I grabbed Jalen Waddle in the 4th or 5th round. Tyreek Hill, sitting at 5th, 65.3 points. I believe Tyreek Hill was a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Christian Kirk, 62.7 points. Maybe a 9th or 10th round pick. Maybe. A.J. Brown, 56.9 points. Let's go with 3rd or 4th round pick. Curtis Samuel, not even drafted, sitting at 55.2 points. Marquise Brown, 10th round or worst, 55.1 points. And then Justin Jefferson, 54 points, first round pick. Now, understand, I am fully aware that this is it's very, very early in the season. I understand that. It's very, very early in the season. My question to you guys is, has fantasy changed strategies, right? Or does this bring you to change fantasy strategies? You heard the scoring for these wide receivers. The top 4 wide receivers in this group have scored more than the top running back. The top 10 overall, your 10th worst receiver right now, 10th worst, or 10th best, however you want to say it, is at 54.6 points. That would sit 4th best in running backs. So, next year's draft, I wonder, do wide receivers become the commodity? Do you start seeing that shift where running backs are no longer looked at like that they become second fiddle? Where now you need 2 fucking stud wide receivers to get off the board instead of those 2 stud running backs, which we tend to draft first. I know I do. Right now, Robin is obviously has the best record in the league, right? 3-0, or tied with the best record in the league. He has 2 of the top 3 running backs. I mean, wide receivers. He's got Stephon Diggs and he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown on his team. That's got to mean something, right? Got to mean something. Running backs. Let's see. Yeah, Robin's got the 6th best running back in Cordero Patterson. And again, don't even know when he drafted him. He definitely drafted him behind Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders. Absolutely drafted him behind them. So, like I said, are running backs now becoming almost obsolete? That you don't need to draft them so high. That it's more important. It's become more important to draft wide receivers and quarterbacks. Just a question to throw out there for you guys. Now, that being said, we're gonna move on to this week. This week's matchups. Now, week 4, quarter of the way, almost a third of the way through the season, right? Third of the way through the season. We got Pork Chop Express versus Middle Village. Right now, I'm projected to win 122 to 100. Again, doesn't mean much. We'll see what happens. I need my team to start putting up points. I know I get on L and all that, and I've been fucking with L, but I do need my team to start scoring points. More Asian hate crime sitting at 0-3 against Girl Dads. This is the matchup between 3-0 and 0-3. If Doug drops to 0-4, Dougie, you're gonna either have to start really putting out trade bait out there, or you might as well just kiss your season goodbye. Jay, now it seems it's a fairly even projection. Jay at 126.9 and Doug at 124, but we'll see what happens. Next up, we got Bronx Los the Ghost versus Smoking D. D right now is projected to win 130 to 121. The biggest thing right now for Los is Los needs consistent output from his running backs. He doesn't have that. Najee Harris, who I believe was a top 5 pick, has done nothing. And that's why I stayed away from him, because I didn't trust that Pittsburgh offense. A.J. Dillon, he's you just never know what you're getting. If Aaron Jones is hot, then they're not going to give it to A.J. Dillon like that. And Los has a solid group of running backs. Just he doesn't have. The only bell cow he has is Najee Harris. Everybody else shares carries with people. Then Dion, on the other hand, look, Dion's going to go as far as fucking Jalen Hurts can take him. The way Hurts has been playing, he's on fire. And right now, I will say, Dion's running backs on paper are not great. That's the one major weak link I see on Dion's team. So at some point that's gonna come and bite him, we think. So he may have to start looking into some trade options too, because Dion's got some good receivers between Jefferson, Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Darnell Mooney, Garrett Wilson, who's stepped up for the Jets now. So, I mean, we'll see. Then, Juice Bigelow versus Butt Clappers. Juice Bigelow is projected to win right now, 132 to the Butt Clappers, 130. Robin sitting at 3-0 and Juice at 1-2. Should be a good game. Robin's got to be careful. He's got to look for Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook got injured last week. We'll see if he plays. And Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he gets Mike Evans back. Shit, that's another one. Dude, Robin's fucking receiving core. His receiving core is fucking good. If you guys haven't paid attention. Robin's got a solid receiving core. On the other end, Juice Bigelow. Look, Nick Chubb has been carrying Jeff's team. Christian McCaffrey hasn't done much. We'll see what happens. Because, again, when C-Mac starts running, hey, he could just fucking take it over. And now you got to watch out, because if Jamal Williams gets that start, the way he's been playing, could be an upset right there. Next up, Sir Win-A-Lot, projected 125 to Case 1393, Frank 114. This is battle of the 1 and 2 guys. Look, this is going to be a fairly even bout. I think it all comes down to prayers. It all comes down to prayers by Lamar. He's got literally Jeff Wilson Jr., Khalil Herbert, who don't know what he's going to do. CeeDee Lamb, you never know what he's going to do. He finally put Amari Cooper in, but again, we'll see what happens. Then last but not least, OGs and Rooks against Red Crayons are L's favorite. Right now, Pete's favored 126.7 to 109.4. Should be a fairly even game realistically. If guys, Kenny's lacking seriously in the wide receiver department right now. I think that's Kenny's biggest Achilles heel, is that his wide receivers have either underperformed or not performed at all. So should be a pretty entertaining week if Kenny starts cursing out his guys or not. That being said, fellas, I wish you all the worst of luck this week. May your quarterbacks catch mono. May your running backs pull their hamstrings walking out the locker room. And may your wide receivers get arrested for domestic battery. Fuck you. Suck my dick.